Good evening. I am Amber Gonsalves. I am a junior that attends Westlake High School in Atlanta, Georgia. And today I am here to lead a discussion on the first book of the Monument 14 series, Monument 14. Monument 14 was a well-written book by Emily Laybourne, a spontaneous and innovative author. She wrote one of the many post-apocalyptic series. The book begins with an extremely gripping introduction. It takes place in Monument, Colorado, in 2024. The first tragedy in the book began in the first chapter. It was a hailstorm that hit the main character Dean on his way to school. Dean sees himself as a social outcast that, of course, wants the ideal prom queen Astrid, who, of course, is dating the top jock Jake. This could be considered as a love triangle. However, the real triangle is between Josie, Braden, and Nikki. Astrid is one of the leading female characters. She is the strong, sexy female archetype, who later on gets exposed to the chemicals that were leaked from the nearby chemical plant. Another leading female would be Josie. However, Josie is in shock for the majority of the book. She eventually becomes a mother figure to the little children stuck inside the store alongside of all of the other 13. Next up, we have Shalila. She is described as an 8th grader that wants to have attention. She is increasingly suggestive to the older bud stuck inside of the store. Later in the book, it can be assumed that she was raped because Dean mentions her hitting at one of the grown men that enters the store, ending with her crying with a thong on and a sleeping bag. Now on to the rest of the supporting guy characters. Braden can be classified as the bully and social outcast. Nico, one who can be considered as a natural-born leader. Next up, we have Jake, the modern-day jock. Now to the book summary. Throughout the summary, I am going to make connections to the book How to Read Literature Like a Professor. That book collects all of the archetypes that are common in books and explains their significance. It begins as just an ordinary day with a slight cloud. A mother sends her 2 sons off to school, Dean and Alex. And then on their ride to school, something of a tragedy occurs. In the book How to Read Literature Like a Professor, there is a chapter named It's More Than Just Snow or Rain. Weather makes the story suspenseful and exciting. If the weather turns from sunny to dark storm cloud, it is predictable that something horrid is bound to happen. Dean, the narrator, describes it as a miniature and mundane sounds that grow louder and louder. Next thing you know it, the bus that sent Dean to school is turned on its side. This is allowing for all of the hail to break through the windows, one cutting the teenagers with glass, and then to top it off, they're getting beat with hail. Dean begins to take what he thinks are his dying breaths, and then he is saved by a very heroic Nico. In the connection to the book, How to Read Literature Like a Professor, Foster has a chapter on, yes, she's a Christ figure too. However, in this case, she is not a she. She is a he, and he is Nico. He can be displayed as a Christ figure. Foster lists different characteristics of a Christ figure. One was self-sacrificing. Nico risked his life to save Dean's life. Later, they take refuge in a nearby greenway, which can be compared to our modern-day Costco's, where the elementary and middle school kids already are. The 14 kids spend their days stuck inside of the store, trying to find different ways to escape after the network is shut off, causing the store's gates to shut down. In the book, Dean watches a sex scene between Astrid and Jake. Another connection yet to happen with the chapters, it's all about sex. A sex scene is never really about sex, but it has a deeper meaning behind it. Laybourne presents this in the book to reveal Dean's lack of knowledge and curiosity about the subject and his loneliness. Before, I mentioned a love triangle between the Dean, Astrid, and Jake. The chapter When in Doubt is from Shakespeare, from How to Read Literature Like a Professor. Is in connection to this part of the book. In How to Read Literature Like a Professor, Foster mentions that no matter what, a part of the story is written based off Shakespearean literature. In Romeo and Juliet, they are star-crossed lovers, having both killed themselves at the end. Without giving away the end of the story, their relationship is not enhanced. Soon, the group learns that the entire eastern seaboard is in peril, thus creating a domino effect on the Rocky Mountains, causing the hailstorm, sending the entire country in panic mode. Then they learn that due to the hailstorm, the chemical plant is leaking, contaminating the entire town. The contamination depends on one's blood type. Josie has type O blood and she gets infected. Her side effect is killing people. She tries to kill one of the younger children in the store. And due to this, she is scared of herself and tries to keep her distance from the rest of the group. They learned this from two men that were sent back to relay the message, Mr. Appleton and Robbie. Dean learns that his parents are safe in a rescue center. The guys try to find a way out when they are in search for the vents. The vents led them up to the roof. On the top of the roof, they find Shalila, and the sky is a greenish color. They all decide to regroup, and some decide to stay in the Greenway, and some try to escape to Alaska. The ones who stayed were Dean, his twin neighbors, and a very pregnant Astrid. The entire story is in a connection to the chapter, Every Trip is a Quest, in How to Read Literature Like a Professor. This chapter explains how there is a quester, a place to go, a stated reason to go, trials en route, and reasons to go. The quest happens throughout the entire book. The quester was Dean. However, he did not have a specific place to go. He tried to leave where he was because it was not safe. The complications that he hit were the two grown men, the chemical leak, and the contamination. The real reason for him to leave is not stated because the story is left on a really deep cliffhanger. It left me with many questions that I wish would have been answered. However, there is a sequel to this book, so hopefully my questions will be answered then. One of my questions were, what happened to the ones who escaped for Alaska? Most of my questions were about the future. Regretfully, I do not recommend this book for my peers. Even though this book is filled with great distinction, Monument 14 did not stand out from any of the other 20,000 teenage apocalyptic books.